Welcome. Today, we're diving into a chapter that, let's be honest, a lot of us probably skimmed through. Genesis 36. On the surface, it just looks like a long, maybe even boring list of names. But I promise you, hidden inside this genealogy is the incredible story of a forgotten kingdom and, more importantly, a powerful testament to God's faithfulness. So, let's get right into it.
You know that feeling, right? You're reading through the Bible, you're in the zone, and then you hit a wall of so-and-so was the son of so-and-so, and you're tempted to just skip to the next chapter. We've all been there. But today, we're going to see why these lists are so much more than that. Genesis 36 holds a stunning piece of history that really reframes a lot of what we think we know about the origins of Israel.
Okay, so to get this chapter, we have to go back and remember Esau, Jacob's twin brother. Now, while Jacob got the main birthright, their father Isaac gave Esau a really powerful blessing of his own. He promised him that he'd be a fighter and that his descendants would become a great nation. Well, Genesis 36, this is the story of that exact promise coming true.
So you've got these two brothers, twins, and they literally become the fathers of two totally separate nations. Jacob's family line, of course, becomes Israel, which is the focus of the rest of the Bible. But Esau's line, also known as Edom, has its own powerful story, and that's exactly what we're going to unpack today.
Now, what's really fascinating here is how this nation of Edom gets its start. It doesn't come from conflict or poverty. It actually begins because of overwhelming abundance. See, God blessed both Jacob and Esau so much that the land they were living on just couldn't support all their flocks and all their stuff anymore. This verse right here is so important. It tells us that Esau's move to a new land, the hill country of Mount Seir, wasn't a punishment or a demotion at all. It was a necessary expansion. It had to happen because of how incredibly blessed he was. You could say he didn't get pushed out, he prospered out.
And just like any nation, Edom starts with families. The scripture is actually really careful to list Esau's wives by name. These women would become the matriarchs, the mothers, of this brand new nation. From them would come all the clans that would go on to shape the Edomite people.
And then, of course, you have his sons. These names, Eliphaz, Reuel, and the others, they are the foundation of Edom. They would become the heads of these great families that started to populate this new rugged land. You can literally see a nation beginning to take shape right here in the text. And what's amazing is how quickly this family structure evolves. The chapter shifts from just being a family tree to a list of organized leaders. It shows a society that's developing a government at a really remarkable speed. The Bible calls these leaders dukes. Now, you can think of them as chiefs or maybe tribal leaders. What we're seeing here isn't just a bunch of random people. No, this is an organized, politically structured nation emerging from Esau's family, exactly like his father Isaac had prophesied. And the Bible adds this brilliant little detail that gives us some real historical context. Esau's family didn't just walk into an empty, vacant land. They moved into a region that was already inhabited by a people called the Horites. And guess what? They already had their own organized society with their own dukes. This is setting the stage for a major development.
All right, so we've seen the family, we've seen the wealth, we've seen the political structure, but the very last section of this chapter holds the most mind-blowing piece of information. It's the whole reason this genealogy was preserved with such amazing detail.
It's like after listing all the dukes and clans, the writer of Genesis just hits pause and says, okay, now get ready for this. Because what comes next really is the climax of the entire chapter. It's nothing short of a historical bombshell. Just let that sink in for a minute. Before there reigned any king over the children of Israel. We're talking hundreds of years before the nation of Israel would be begging for a king like Saul. Esau's descendants, the Edomites, had already established a full-blown monarchy. This isn't some minor detail. This is a world-changing fact in the biblical narrative.
And we're not just talking about one king. The chapter lists a whole succession of them. This timeline shows a stable, powerful, and sovereign kingdom right next door to Jacob's descendants, who at this point were still just a collection of tribes. Edom was a regional superpower long before Israel ever was.
So the big question is, why does any of this matter? Why dedicate an entire chapter to the genealogy of the other brother? Well, the purpose is actually incredibly profound. First, it proves God's faithfulness. God kept his promise to Esau, period. He said he'd bless him, and he made his descendants into a great and powerful nation. Second, it gives us vital historical context for the rest of Israel's story. And third, it shows us that every single part of Scripture, even a long list of names, is there for a reason. It has a purpose.
So here's the bottom line. Genesis 36 is not just some forgotten list. It's a carefully placed historical record showing us that God fulfills all his promises, not just some of them. And it shows that his plan is so much bigger and more intricate than we often realize. It's a beautiful reminder that not a single word in the Bible is wasted.
And that really just leaves us with one final thought. The next time you come across a long genealogy, or a passage that seems maybe a little dry or unimportant, maybe just pause for a moment. Because who knows, what incredible truth, what forgotten kingdom might be waiting right there for you to discover.